if you can get Max Clifford, he's got evidence of so many people on tape admitting to what they do. Yeah, he admits on YouTube about Alan Clark. Yeah.
Just out of interest, and completely hypothetically, where do you think he'd keep that?
It's probably in his house in Barbados. He had a house. I mean, whether he's got it still, I don't know. There, it'll be in his house somewhere. Now, I think he'd want that pretty close to him. Yeah, because if it was in another country, that would have him getting on a plane or someone getting on a plane to do it. He might be in a jam and go, I need to get hold of that. Right? So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know him personally. You know, I've been to his house or anything like that, you know. But I'd imagine, look, these guys keep things in safes, yeah? All the editors, Piers Morgan does. That's why Piers Morgan's got a cushy job in America. It's not who you know, it's what you got on people, you know, sadly. And this industry works that way, you know. So, look, if you can get Max Clifford to, look, he wants to tell his story anyway, yeah? He's got he's made all his money, yeah? He hates these people, right, he has to represent, right? He hates them. He's desperate, isn't he, to tell his story. He needs that excuse to say, well, you know, and this might be the perfect opportunity because of what's going on for him to say, the police made me talk, right? Because he's not under any oath, is he? You know, he hasn't taken, PR companies don't take an oath in front of anyone.
Confidentiality.
You know, he may say to his clients, I don't need to, you know, I won't say anything. But if compelled to, you know. So anyway, so Max Clifford basically sent me to Pitchstream Fellows, all the events, Days of Thunder premieres, The River Runs Through It. He put me with Brad Pitt there. You know, good person for you to meet, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's never, you know, go and meet that person because they want to have sex with you. It's they would be good for your career.
Good for you, yeah.
You know, and it's up to you what you do. Yeah. Colin Farrell basically tells a story of when he got picked by his agent, his big CIA agent, I think it was, and he said basically, you know, the guy had two choices: one guy who would give him a blowjob, and the guy who wouldn't. Well, Colin Farrell's Colin Farrell. He admits himself that's what he did to get his agent to get into the industry. Yeah, because this is the currency. Yeah, what they do is they take you and they hope that you're damaged goods in some way. So, for example, I've got an adoption story, right? That was always used to get me to do stuff. They would always bring up my adoption in some way. So, for example, Sylvia would say, you know, go meet this person, Lovey, and what have you, and stuff like that. And, you know, I can't really give an example, it's weird. It was just because they think you haven't had a very good upbringing, or something, that you haven't experienced things. So because you have, you know, you were in care. I was in care for 6 months and I didn't know about it, right, from the first 6 months. But they suddenly think you were in care till, you know, they met you, right? So they want to give you a great experience, right? Well, that means them being with these very wealthy people and all that kind of stuff, and then going along with whatever that entails, right? So that was always used. So what they want is these people who are damaged goods in some way, and I was never damaged to my adoption. You know, I've got, you know, various commitment-phobic issues and things like that. But I've been with you for 18 years, so I mean, you know, it's not that bad. I've been married 2 years ago, but that was, you know, I've been that bad. So, so if you've done something wrong, so for example, if you're a shoplifter or something like that, they can use that because they can stop you from going to jail. Say like Winona Ryder, right? She was a shoplifter. And what did she do when she couldn't make a movie? She just reverted back to shoplifting. Except now she's famous, and she's like, right? They just revert back to what they, you know. So you pick these kids up, especially in LA, off the beach and stuff like that. They show them a good time. Nicolas Cage is a procurer. He's related to Francis Ford Coppola, right? He found Johnny Depp, right?
Right. Yeah.
And loads of other kids. And if you all you would do is Google Johnny Depp Rent Boy, and he admits it. He said, yeah, the stuff I had to do early in my career. Right? Well, that happens here in exactly the same way. So there's these people that are looking around for people who are slightly damaged, who like the glamour, and you know, who will do pretty much whatever. Yeah. You know. Now, it's making me sound homophobic to say I wasn't gay, so therefore, but people weren't sure because I'm slightly camp, right? So I just ended up being a flirt really a lot of the time,
Right.
except for really, we'll talk about more about these sort of people. But I'm just trying to give the atmosphere
Yeah, no,
as well as the obviously this is what happened. But yeah, you start seeing there's these key individuals that on themselves you can't really say, oh, you're doing this, that, and t'other. But when you look at actually what they do, like Max Gifford, he gets young people for free to events. Yeah, I was 14 years old and I was just drinking champagne. I was snorting cocaine. I was doing. That's why people don't come out, because they're embarrassed.
Right.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I had to. I did this story, and my mom read that paper, and she was just like, she was in Birmingham, you see.
Right. Yeah.
So my family, who didn't want me to go into acting, who I didn't tell anything to, who worried about me every single night when I was in London, and rightly so,
Yeah.
I was saying, no, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
I actually lived with a drug dealer. Yeah? The family that Sylvia Young put me with, their son was a drug dealer, actor, right? Dealt drugs in all Stringfellows, in Bar Atlantic, China Whites. We were, that's where we frequented. Pretty much in those days. Plus, a few, Camden Palais and stuff like that, and other things, depending on what events were going on and where. But that's where she put me, where I would be safe.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and that was done through my parents. So Sylvia says, "Oh, I've put him with a family. Great. Well, the woman overcharged us massively for the rent for a room, and I had to share with someone else anyway. It's almost like what we pay here, kind of thing. So you're being ripped off, but you didn't know it.
Yeah.
The son's a drug dealer, and you're getting sucked in to this world, right? Now, I'm not saying that I'm innocent. I'm not at all. I happily marched on. I was an idiot,
in fairness, mate, you show me a 14-year-old that wouldn't. I was 14, and if I had the opportunity to suck in champagne and while I was trying to sneak into pubs and working out which ones I could get into, somebody had said, come into this one, I'd have probably run them out of the way. We've all been there, and I wouldn't put yourself down for that, because that's what 14-year-olds do.
Well, this is it, and
That's why you should have grown-ups looking after you.
That's my point. And that's
Yeah.
what Esther Ranson should have been. She invited me, I think, to her house in the New Forest. I'm not sure if it was her house, but it was certainly a party at the New Forest, and it was her party. And she invited me directly, so it wasn't like it was through a friend of a friend of a friend. It was Esther Ranson saying, I was in a few shows that she had come to see me in. I'd done a few Bill Kenwright shows.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I was either doing Bobby Davro show down in Southampton, or I'd just finished doing a Bill Kenwright show in Leatherhead. We were on tour, Southamptonish, Leatherheady kind of way. I know there's kind of a big difference between those two places, but sometimes you just can't remember where you were at. Now, because I went to the New Forest, I'm thinking maybe it was the Bobby Davro show I was doing. That to me makes a bit more sense, maybe, being closer. So it's probably the Bobby Davro show I was doing. So that's how we ended up at that party. And again, it was, do you want to come to a party? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Everyone starts off very glamorous at the evening. There's what 20 people there, maybe, something like that, if that. But people rotate through the evening. So, and I was always a person who arrived pretty much on time at the beginning of something, but I was always there till way after it had finished. For some reason I couldn't go home. I wouldn't go home.
Yeah.
So say for example at that party, there's lots of drugs, lots of alcohol, lots of children, right, and adults. There's lots of sex going on, because that's always part and parcel of these things. People get drunk, people have sex, right? And Esther Ranson's there, and not once did she come up to me and say, "Oi, it's time to go home. It's time for this." To me, you're past your bedtime, off you go. No, it wasn't. I was passed out in the garden for half the night anyway. Stagger back in. Then I get the cab home, or back to the digs, wherever I'm staying. It's almost morning. Do you know what I mean? The party has gone on. I mean, she's probably disappeared hours ago.
Yeah.
But that's what it was like,
I take it Esther didn't do anything specific apart from obviously not look after your welfare by inviting you to a party where there's clearly other things going on that a 14-year-old should be exposed to.
Well, no, I mean, she's a,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of it is,
So that's it. So when she came out and said, "Oh, this is awful," about
Yeah.
all she's really worried about is childline. Yeah, her legacy. Well, that's one of those selfish things you could possibly think of. It's just like, don't think of your legacy. Think of the people that this man has.
The hypocrisy of what's gone on before, isn't it?
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
You get these images of people who, that's how they present themselves to the world on television. It's an illusion. And I keep telling people this and say, look, like somebody, but just know they're a real person at the same time, that you don't know anything that they do.
As you say, there's a screen face, isn't there? And then there's what they really are.
Yeah. And they're completely different. There's people out there, and I say, look, these people are like monsters that look very good, and they will, eat you alive, right? But they're not going to be nasty. They're going to be charming. These people are lovely. Do you know what I mean? They invite you into their lives. They will, give you lots of things. I got clothes. They found out very quickly I was a jackets guy, and I had leather jackets. Now for me, when I was 15, 14, a £70 leather jacket was like,
It's a big thing, wasn't it?
yeah. It was a real big, especially going back to Birmingham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And seeing all my mates and stuff like that. It was a big deal. So I was given clothes really a lot of the time by most people I met. They, what do you like, or can I take you shopping? Yeah, sure. So I'm digressing.
No. It's fascinating. We've got Clifford and Stringford. I take it that's what you've spoken of.
Yeah.
No specific sort of allegations.
No, that was me being there.
Just
They were
That's,
facilitating,
that-
you, obviously with Stringfellows Club, and
that's right. Yeah.
you've been invited.
Because I'm trying to give you that idea of these people that there's the kind of the guys that get you in, and then there's the guys that are kind of, because no one's I say no one's horrible, but obviously they are. But it's the way it's presented to you. And everyone's lovely at the beginning of the evening. It's all glamorous and it's all this and that. And as the evening goes on, you see people drifting away. You see the ones that go home early because they're just there for the do.
Right, yeah.
Then you see the ones that are a bit too drunk and they get carted off because no one wants them around anyway. And you end up with that nucleus of people who are like me, who've paced themselves, because I'm good at pacing myself through a party, who are good to be around, who people like to chat to, and will continue for the rest of the evening. So now it's back to the hotel, when I did The Word, and with Terry Christian and Amanda de Cadenet, it's like a Channel 4 programme.
Oh, I remember it. Yeah. I remember it.
Yeah.
It's Terry Christian's from
Yeah.
part.
It was kind of edgy. Probably looks quite tame now, but
Yeah, no, probably, in hindsight, probably it was quite sort of normal Friday night TV, but at the time it was quite cutting edge, wasn't it?
well, I was on The Word, and I was there with Dolph Lundgren, and I think Tony Benn, Nigel Benn, boxer.
Oh, yeah.
And they were doing like some boxing themes. So I was there because I was in a panto, wasn't I? I was 16, 15, 16. And we all went back. We did the show. There was an after-show party at, it wasn't at Channel 4, it was at in the Isle of Dogs. They had some warehouse or something that they had, like Planet 24, I think was the production company, maybe. Yeah. And this was like a warehouse where it was done in, So we had the after-show party there, and then you have the after-show. Right? So now what you've got is, say like you go to a premiere, most people now want to get the ticket, not to see the film, but to the after-show party. Right? But now the after-show parties have become so commercialised, people go for 20 minutes then leave, but it's the next after-show one that you really want to go to, right?
Yeah.
So with The Word, we did the after-show party, then we went we were at Dorchester. We were always at the Dorchester Hilton, there's Four Seasons, one of those, the big ones around that area. In Dolph Lundgren's dressing room, maybe there was 15 people had come back with us, There was this girl from maybe Home and Away or Neighbours, one of the Australian soaps, tiny thing. She was 13. She had her parents with her at the studio.
Yeah.
The producer said, "Don't worry, we'll look after her," and she went to the hotel room. Yeah, she was raped in front of everybody by Dolph Lundgren, right? Absolutely certain of that because she was 13 years old and he had sex with her in front of everybody. Yeah, because that's how it happened. You have the suite, you have the bedroom doors, and it's happening there, and everyone's just going, "Well, that's the way it is," but I'm absolutely certain that that's what I was seeing at that time. And that's a standard thing, you know. That was that's something that sticks in my mind from that particular thing, because I saw someone going through what I had been through, definitely, you know, kind of situation. Obviously, it was worse for her.
Can you remember who she was? Was she one of the more famous ones?
I'd recognise the face. I can't. I don't watch those things. I never did. You know. But she was like the girl of the moment. I think you know, she wasn't one with a record. She was too young. She was 13 or 14. She was.
I tried, because quite a few of them. You got the likes of Isla Fisher, that's married to Sacha Baron Cohen now, that started off over there and was.
Yeah, she's ginger-haired girl. Yeah, no, it's not her. Yeah, I don't have actually a place to start because I never saw those shows.
So the problem is we've got to be realistic about. I mean, we've got to be realistic about what we can achieve, and you know, and don't know. I you know, I'm a dad, mate. 13-year-old. I'm sorry. You know, I've got. No, I haven't got one of them. I've got a grumpy 15-year-old at home at the moment, but it's just not right on any level. It's just not right. But again, we've got to be realistic about what we can.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. Yeah.
You know, it's Go on, Mel Smith.
Yeah, Mel Smith gave him drugs. Yeah, coke. Yeah, he was the coke guy at the V when I was there.
Right.
He get it biting. He was on expenses.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sort of borne itself out with him, hasn't it? Because he's a basket case now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently. Joanna Lumley.
Yeah, Joanna Lumley. We were at I was doing a show called Model Millie. She was doing a show at Fab, and where we were rehearsing in East Acton, I think it was East Acton. There was a BBC rehearsal room, and in those rehearsal rooms, we were doing our show, and the next door they were doing our Fab shows.
Yeah.
And I think what you did was record it on a Wednesday or Thursday, and you rehearsed the Monday, Tuesday. It was something like that at the BBC. Rehearse in East Acton, and then you go and film it in the studio. We had a party. Our Fab had a party, but it wasn't. I keep saying party, but I'm using the term very loosely because it was almost like, you know, you have an office do where everyone's working,
Right.
and then gradually the booze will come out, and everyone will start drinking, and it turns into a party. You know, when I've said, "Oh, this is the AbFab party," they said, "Oh, well, there wasn't an official AbFab party." Well, no, this is not a tickets event.
Yeah.
This is just people working in the same building, and I got to know them very well during my time. Joan Collins was there that day, so they brought out the fruit, because I don't know, she ordered something, right? In her rider, they said it must have big fruit platter. I don't think she ever touched it. You know, just they just want to see it there. I mean, that's a lot of this is about power and control. So they want things to happen. So she was there. She gave me a ride around the block in her silver Mercedes. Which I thought was completely glamorous, because I looked over and there was Joan Collins in her headscarf and the glasses, exactly the way she was older, but you know how I imagined to see her, kind of thing. So I was blown away by her and stuff like that. And so Joanna Lumley, so we got drunk, and we all got drunk, and the drunker we went back to her dressing room, which was across the corridor, and just did a lot of cocaine. To the point where she's flashing his boobs, she's rocking under the the dressing room, and where you put your legs underneath the shelf, where usually you've got the hair dryer and what have you. She's rocking and crying and laughing and being hysterical, and then back to more coke, and me and her did that. That's what she did, come into my dressing room, and I had that a lot. It was "come with me, young man," kind of thing. So again, that's what she was. That's what she did, and when I told that to the Times guy, he flips out. He went, "Joanna Lumley," and I went, "Well, hold on, this is an anecdotal story, really. I'm telling you, you guys, right?" And he was like, "No. She's Murdoch's babe now. She's the Murdoch is the he's got her in a 20th Century Fox movie.
Scorsese's latest movie.
Yeah, he's billing her as the new statesman, like he called her like the next Richard Attenborough or something.
Yeah, it was all off the back of the stuff she did for the Gurkhas, wasn't it? Yeah.
Right, yeah. Which is all very, again, planning the narrative of Joanna Lumley's statesmanship. You know, what they don't want to know is that she was in the dressing room with me, giving me cocaine, and I'm snorting it up. That's the last thing.
She's part of the Sky Christmas schedule, if there's any irony in that, being it was the Jimmy Savile Christmas scheduling that caused the problem last time, because the Christmas schedule is everything. Because she's in that, and I read something that Sky believe that she will bring to Sky the statesman-like qualities like David Attenborough, because they believe that people see her in the same light as a David Attenborough, a statesman.
So he flips out at that piece of information. That's just, you know, and
She did his research because she did pornos before she got famous. So
that's all been wiped away now with the Gurkhas.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but
that's
it
the
does.
thing. Yeah, but it does. That's because. But the thing is, by the time the PR machine's finished with you, you make them look like they're, you know, wonders of the world, and you know. So so that's what happened with Joanna Lumley and stuff like that, and that went on. You know, I mean, you know, those parties and those gatherings. I shouldn't call it a party. I should call it gathering, I suppose. Happened all the time, every day, and stuff like that.
Bruce Forsyth.
Always with young girls. Always. Yeah, I was young, don't forget. So when I saw someone who looked young, they were young. You know, I don't know how old they were, but, you know, I was, 15? And
I'll
they
be honest with you, mate. At the age of 15, you're going to have a better idea of judging age than I am now, because I'm lost between about 14 and 18, you know. But when you're that age, you know damn well how old somebody is. So if you're saying that when you're 15, you're saying
I saw them as being young.
Yeah. So,
and there was lots of those. And, you know, he was doing a generation game, I think, at the time. So, you know, I was there a lot. I mean, our filming, see, because of the way that the that television centre worked at the time, I think you had 8 studios. So it's 8 things, and all recording days happened on the same days. So BBC was jumping on recording days. So you had lots of different people doing lots of different shows, and all the backstage area fed into one dressing rooms. One lot of dressing rooms. I think you had upstairs dressing rooms for the big stars, and then the big stars were the guests always. And then downstairs, you went down one flight of stairs, and another set of dressing rooms. They were for BBC staff. Like if you were doing a series, like an actor or someone. Jimmy Savile's dressing room was down there. Bruce Forsyth's dressing room was down there. So you had to kind of go down, you know, into one level, you know, and then you know whoever performers or whatever would have to, because they'd be nearest the studio entrance and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah, stuck his tongue down my throat and attacked me. He's really useful group in the office. He had basically, for a year, maybe more, was promising me a part in Starlight Express, right? And by the time that he attacked me, I'd known him for about a year and a half, maybe longer. Yeah. And what I mean is, right, I'd gone to auditions, passed the auditions, gone through the casting director process, then you got to meet Andrew, and then you get auditioned by him, which basically means a pianist sitting there playing the piano, you singing your song, then it's the chat, and then it's kind of get to know you, right? And that just went on. Now, I was used to going for like 5 or 6 auditions, right? Yeah. And you get the job, or you wouldn't get the job. And if they didn't get the job at that point, they'd explain to you why. Yeah. Well, it was a choice between you and another guy, and we just picked the other guy. Okay, fine, I get that, right? But when it goes on and on and on, and it goes from being... I was always the last guy as well he saw on the day. So it'd be the last guy I saw, and then it'd be like, come up to the office and let's have a drink. Okay, let's have a drink. And that happened quite a few times, and nothing happened, right? And I was just like, I'm getting to know Andrew Lloyd Webber. So I got on the phone to my mum saying, I'm getting to know Andrew Lloyd Webber now, right? He took me up to Buxton, to the Buxton Opera Festival, where he was giving some masterclass. And he took me as one of, I think it was a girl and a guy, probably 3 of us, 3 or 4 of us maybe, took us up to Buxton and showed us off as these are the sort of the new generation of my singers kind of thing. So he made you feel very special, you know, and stuff like that. So when I think I had a singing audition again, heard me sing, went back, because my voice broke when I was age 13 and it broke overnight. I was like high tenor, one day, and then I was, rather a soprano, and then I was a tenor the next. It was really bizarre, I came down and went, right, Mum. And she went, I was like, oh my God, what's happened? I went to choir practice that night, and they just went, I think your career as choir boy's over, because it had been, because I'd been doing shows as well.
Yeah.
So I sang very well, and I sounded a lot older than I was. So I was used for a lot of recordings, so like cast recordings of musicals. You don't get the official one, you get the cheap version. Well, I'm the guy with the cheap version, right? Unless I was in the show, which is obviously. So yeah, I was always used because I was doing voiceovers, as an adult when I was like 15. Because I sounded at that time I had a deeper voice. So I was doing a lot of singing. I'd gone to a singing audition, then had gone up to the office, and we would sit down and we were drinking, and I think we were drinking champagne, or it was deemed to be champagne anyway. He sat next to me on the sofa. It was like you sort of walk into the office. I think they had a piano there, a grand piano, but he didn't play it, and that's not where you auditioned. And then you had sort of he had a desk on this side, and then he had like a sofa set, corner sofa set maybe, something like that. If I remember, or maybe flat against the wall. I can't remember if it came out. Anyway, something like that. That was roughly the setup. And I'm sitting on the sofa. He sat next to me. And, he started putting his hand on my thigh, which is what I call kind of the actuary lovey kind of thing, the over-familiarity that you have to put up with, on a daily basis. And he basically put his hand around the back of me like that and leaned over, grabbed my face, and basically kissed me, full on with his tongue down my throat, and grabbing my genitals with his hand. And then now I'm on the side, like that, and it lasted for, well, I don't know, a few seconds. That was it. I came up shocked. I had a couple more drinks. We chatted pleasantries. Again, nothing was really mentioned. It wasn't, are you okay? It's like, do you want another drink? Yeah, I'll get you another drink.
I suppose if you haven't sort of reciprocated it when he's grabbed you, then it's going to be that sort of awkward. Do you want another drink?
It didn't seem odd to me. It was just that's what happened.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then basically I was put in Star Express, and that's how I got that show. So it was over a year of auditions and meetings and used to meet up in Shepherd's Bush Gate. Is it Shepherd's Bush Gate? Is there a place called Shepherd's Bush Gate? Maybe it was the Gate Pub or something. There was a little restaurant. There was something called Shepherd's Bush Gate or something that was like a restaurant or a pub or something like that. It would be a gastropub now or something now, but then there was no such thing. But we had lunch a lot in that place.
When were you in Starlight Express then?
Huh?
When were you in Starlight Express?
Oh God. Well, I was 15, 16 going into it. Yeah. So he saw me when I was 15 because I went to Buxton when I was 15.
So what age would that be? What year would that be roughly?
90.
Hang on, easiest way to work it out. You were 15, 74, 84, 89, 90, 89,
90. Yeah.
90.
Yeah.
No, because one of my first memories of when I came to London was I used to watch so we used to go down, the cast used to go down to Trafalgar Square and practice at the bottom of Trafalgar Square. And one of the first sort of memories of me coming to London as a sort of, naive northerner coming down to join the police was going down there and watching the cast practice.
Yeah. So, it was at the Apollo Theatre.
Yeah,
and I broke my leg doing it. I was Rocky 1. So, it was a small part, but, and as you come down one of the big shoots, a guy called Marco, he's an Italian guy, kicks my skate, which happened a lot, people, because you're holding on to everybody, and what you didn't want to do was move your skate forward, because if you hit someone else, that's it, because their momentum's going that way, well, you fly up, and I flew up and went over, there's a plastic barrier, my leg went over the plastic barrier and I broke it, and this woman in the audience was like, and I still had to get off, because no one could come and get you, it's in the middle of the audience, so you have to kind of realise what's happened, get yourself, and obviously you've got adrenaline and stuff like that, so off I skated on one foot, got off stage, and obviously, so that was...
You burst into tears as soon as you're off stage, I know I would.
Yeah, and also, you're out of a job.
Yeah.
In those West End shows, I did a lot of them, you're out of a job pretty quick, So it's desperate, you know, just be in things, you know. So when some pervy guy sticks his tongue down your throat, you go, not again. Okay, you know. There was never any question of complaining. Who would I complain to? I complained to my agent, who was Sylvia Young at the time.